Assalamu alaikum. Sulaiman Rahim here. Let's slay some demons. Sisters and brothers, the lull before the storm. That's what we're going to talk about today. Very timely subject, very urgent, time of unprecedented trouble. So what is this lull before the storm? There's going to be a lull before the storm. What's the storm? What's the lull? How does it affect us? Where we are in this period of lull before the storm. Those are things we're going to address. So let's proceed, brothers and sisters. What you see here is the world that's coming in. It's exploding right before your eyes. They're doing everything they can to put it out, to shut it out, stamp it out, stomp it out. They tried abortion. 22 million black babies dead so far and counting. Failing that, having born stillborn. Failing that, catch it coming out of the birth canal and kill it. Failing that, kill it in its infancy. All these different stages. They've done everything they can to stop this. They knew it was coming. When Mr. Farad showed up, they knew who he was. They knew who Elijah is. They just want you to know. Scriptures are clear. Any reasonable reading is clear. Read Exodus. They know that never occurred in the past. They know that. The whole Jewish religion is based on Exodus. It's all based on Exodus. And they claim it happened to them. They know that never happened to them. That never happened in the past. Never. There's no proof of it whatsoever. In fact, when Jesus of 2,000 years confronted them about it, he said, the truth will make you free. Their retort was, what you mean free? We've never been in service to anyone. So they know. In 400 years, they know it by heart. They taught it from birth. And when COVID-19 showed up, why do they call it COVID-19? See? 1619, 19, 2019, why do they call it COVID-19? 40 years. Then 2020, see, 2019 was the last year of their reign. Their judgment will come in 2020. Is that why they call it COVID-19? That's why they hide these things for you? No. Like $64,000 question? COVID-19. At any rate, they know when they saw COVID-19 20 come in, when they saw the plague come in 2020, they knew exactly what that meant. They knew. They didn't want you to know. Especially, they hid the fact that it was passing over Africa, Black Africa. See, so why is it passing over us? Why isn't it not passing over us if it's passing over them? Got basically the same genes. So it's literally passing over Black Africa. That should be worldwide news. It's plaguing all the planet, but the only place it's not plaguing is Black Africa, which they thought in retrospect, that should have been the worst. But yet still we're dropping like flies over here. And now all of a sudden this vaccination, all this stuff is going on. We know it's the time of their attempt to get rid of us. So you don't have to look at the particulars. You know whatever they do, you got to be suspicious of it. You know, if you see a bunch of lions coming, you don't have to go around trying to figure out what they plan to do. You know what they're going to do. They're going to eat you. You're going to say, well, one's going to beat my leg first or whatever. Or you know, the bottom line is eat you, so you better prepare for that. There's no other consideration. Or maybe they might just want me to pet them or something. No, they come to eat you, bottom line. And they're coming to get rid of you. See? So anyway, that's the world's coming in, our biological world. See? They cannot exist in our biological world. They proved it. They're destroying this biological world, so-called global warming, all these things happening. Corruption has in the land and the sea, what the Quran says, because of what they're doing, because they're evil to our creation. See? So therefore they're trying to come in and make a mechanical creation because they know they cannot live in this biological. So that's what you have, a war between the two. The analytical mind and the spatial mind. We have a spatial creation, right? But the analytical mind cannot understand it. So by being unable to understand it, it's like an elephant in a china shop. It's going to destroy everything just by being there. They can't help it. So the only thing they can do is get rid of this biological world and bring the mechanical world. All the disease, cancer, all that kind of stuff, that comes from them. It comes from us. And hereafter, all that stuff will be gone with be no evidence of any kind of disease or any corruption in the earth and land at all. None. See? That's when we win. Because that's the question. Who will win? If they win, see, then they will be overcome by their own hands. So they have to come with a mechanical universe, mechanical creation. See, a cyborg, which is it's not a robot, it's a mechanical body, right? A biological brain. See, because machines don't get cancer. Machines don't worry about, bad weather, and all those type of things. See, they don't have to worry about this. Get rid of this biological world. What are they doing now? Look at all the stuff they're making. Through chemistry. See, they'll make chemical food survive on. See? It's biological, mechanical world, electronic mechanical world, not just mechanical. So therefore they can eat, drink some kind of chemical and make it taste like caviar. Because they're being mechanical and electronic. I'm not going to go into all the details. But anyway, they're trying to prevent this. And so I'm going to say a couple more things here. They were given the greater light, as it says in Genesis. That's the sealed Bible, 2,000 years ago. But it was sealed. So how would it be a light of sealed? Because the sealed Bible is Yaqub's message, his tutorial, so to speak, right? His instructions to them. Because this world you see came out of the sealed Bible. It came out of the Bible. That's why they have no problem. Because slavery, abuse of women, murder, all that stuff is authorized by the sealed Bible. They have a passion about taking children by the feet and dashing their heads against the wall, knock their brains out. Those type of things. All that's in the sealed Bible. See? All that's there. Crucifying people, all that kind of stuff. All that's there. And that comes from the God. So how can they be, you see? Because it comes from Yaqub. That's the sealed Bible. Yaqub didn't write it. See? But he took advantage of it. Because they was meant, Yaqub all Dr. Yaqub did was take advantage of the situation. And the scientist wrote the book so he would be successful in doing it. We supported what Dr. Yaqub did. We could have stopped him. Dr. Shabazz saw him coming back 50,000 years ago. We could have stopped him, supported what he was doing, so we gave a book to do it. That's the sealed Bible. See? But in that Bible, right, it's like a thermonuclear bomb. Thermonuclear bomb is two bombs. The fission bomb is the outer bomb, and the fusion bomb is the inner bomb. It takes the fission bomb to ignite the fusion bomb. The fusion bomb is much more powerful, hundreds of times more powerful than the fission bomb. Fission bomb is what they dropped on Japan. See? The fusion bomb is much, much more powerful. But it takes the fission bomb to ignite it. So they were given, it says, they were given, that's why the Quran tells them people of the book, they were given the book, the sealed book, 2,000 years ago. And when once they mixed with mathematics, right, because it comes in several explosions. each one more powerful than the next one. But they were sidetracked for 1,000 years, right, with the ignition of the Quran. But it took the sealed Bible to ignite. See, this bomb is more complicated than thermonuclear because it ignited the Quran. It put so much pressure on the military that they ignited them, and then they have an explosion that lasts 1,000 years. See? And then they mixed the sealed book with mathematics in another explosion 500 years ago, which you see the world we are in right now, which the full impact of the sealed Bible came into being. Slavery, democracy. Democracy is in the sealed Bible. Capitalism. All that stuff is in the sealed Bible. It's all there. See? Because that's Yaqub's world. Dr. Yaqub's world. But it would take that to ignite the unsealed Bible. See? And that was us. Because we was put right in the middle of it. We're right in the middle of all of this. And America is the center of the sealed Bible. They took it to the maximum heights, maximum explosive ability. See? And so we're right in the middle where the explosion took its full form, the last phase, spread all over the world. And we ride the center. We took the blunt of that force to the maximum, the full impact of that force, the full impact of it for 400 years. And what did that do? That put so much pressure, right, that we produced Suleiman at 144,000 because only Suleiman could ignite it. And once he ignited the angel, the seven seals, broke the 7 seals, now that new world is coming in, exploding. And they're doing everything they can to stop it. Just a couple of more things on that. To get a good understanding of it. You take a people, we have reproduced ourselves. A child, the seed goes into the woman. That woman, the egg is part of that woman. An egg, all the stress in that woman is in the egg too. All the stress, pain, whatever condition she's in, that's the same condition. She produced the egg under those conditions. So that egg represents her condition. So if she's under extreme stress, so is that egg. So is a whole reproductive system. So that sperm has to be strong enough to get through all of that, to fertilize that egg, and the 9 months of all the pressure and everything that woman's under, it's got to deal with. It got to be strong enough to deal with all that. See? And then actual birth. So that means that only the strongest seed can survive under all that pressure. See, that means it produces the strongest seed possible. And then it comes into a world, right, that's under extreme pressure. So it has to, once it gets outside of the womb, then it has to deal with all the pressures. And then to go on to reproduce itself. So this cycle continues, right, for 400 years. That means the seed got stronger and stronger and stronger. The more pressure they put us under, only the strongest seed that could survive it. So now you have produced the strongest original people. That was Dr. Shabazz's ideal, his plan. Because he started the process of making it as strong as possible. Let's make man our likeness, our image, to raise us from lower gods, called angels, to the level of the top gods. He started the process. See, to prepare us for it. And so now we're here. That explosion, 500 years ago, put us under extreme pressure. And so now we produce the best possible seed ever possible. Best possible. See? Better than the original God. The best. Because he didn't have to go into, no one had to go into this type of pressure. So that's why it was permitted to let Dr. Yaqub do his thing, because he was going to bring into a new creation, more powerful than ever. You need that pressure, that extreme pressure. That's why I told the angels, submit to Adam, submit to him. See, submit. It blissed them, they didn't want to do it, but we did. Submit. Say, I know what you know not. Because he was making us into a new creation, lifting us up from angels to godhood. We're all gods, but you have different levels. We're lower gods, and that's what that's all about. That's why we allow him to do it. And that being able to achieve that level, that construct, being transformed from a coal to a diamond, was able to ignite the angel, which is going to bring in this new reality. See, biological world, perfect, better than ever before. We started our creation with the biological world, and now we're regenerating it better than before. And we're going to take it to heights no one ever could imagine. See, and our women will be put back on top of civilization where she belongs, protected, loved, respected, worshipped. See? And all our enemies and everything, just no more. So I hope you understand that. Okay, brothers and sisters, angel key here. So those of you familiar with angel understand this. I'm not going to go into details. I want to point out that this is the key that ignites the angel. Angel is called, this is the Arabic word for gospels. It says this gospel wouldn't be the Quran. This gospel will be taught in all the world, then it will come. Not the Quran. See? But you need the angel key to unlock it. And that's what it looks like. I'm not going into details. Those of you familiar with it understand it. See? But it's been unlocked and now exploding. And the pressure waves from it is overcoming the world. You see, America is right at the center. That's what it says. One of the letters says, the Son of Man, Suleiman, is in the center of the earth, the center of all this, experimenting with powerful explosives. When you experiment, I mean, you're studying it. It means the Lamb, he started studying the angel and broke the seals. So it's talking about right here in the center of all this madness. And first to go would be America, because we're right there at the center. Right center, we blow them away first. They're the first to go. That's why they're under extreme stress right now, because the explosion's already taking place. See, the angel's already been. So that's why you feel it. You can't see the wind, but you see evidence of the wind, because you see the trees shaking, the winds, the leaves. See, that's how you can't see the wind, but you see evidence of it. So America's under extreme stress, and it's affected the whole planet. No one's ever seen anything like what's going on right now. In fact, they even tell you themselves they expect war within a few days. World war. No one's ever seen anything like this before. A time of unprecedented trouble. And it's the angel that's bringing this about. Okay, a couple of things we'll talk about quickly to give you some idea. Now, in this case right here, we're going to get to our main topic. This case right here. What's happening here is that there are three entities, but they all have the same end in the angel. The three entities both have the same end, have the same calamities, their destruction. But they're the same. See, you think they're different. So we're going to talk about the three, then I'm going to leave it to you, to work on it, because some of these things, I'm not going to try to go in detail and give a detailed story on this, presentation on this. I'm just give you some highlights, because this is going to explain some of the things we're going to talk about in a minute. The first one says the fourth of the earth. Now, understand the angel earth is 4 parts. Now, I'm talking about like 4 of the major continents, like America, South America, North America, South America, and Europe and Africa. That's some people think they don't understand the Bible, right? So the fourth earth. So earth has 4 parts: America, Britain, East and Western Europe. Eastern Europe, right, is Eastern Europe. It circles around Russia, represented by Russia. Western Europe is represented by Germany and so-called EU, France, and so forth. Okay, so it's one of them they're talking about. It says if 1/4 of the earth. We're talking about the fourth seal, and it says these are the calamities: death, wild beasts. So wild beasts earth. So that tells you something right there, because it's the wild beasts earth. That means that's two of them, because earth represents four. But it's wild beasts. I mean, it's at least two of them, right? It says beasts, that's multiple. So two of those represent the wild beasts, right? So you got the fourth one, and then you got, so that only leaves one left. So the wild beast has to be at least two of them, might be all three, right? Famine, and then a long sword. So what does that mean? What does those things mean? See? Then you go to the next one. It says harlot, right? Now the harlot is the same one as the fourth third. Whoever this harlot is also represents, because they got the same. They have the same four calamities. This, state a little differently. They have the same calamities, right? So one says make a desolate, then it says naked, and then flesh will they eat, and then burn down in fire. See. Then you got this other one. It says plagues of her. That's talking about chapter 18. The chapter 17 is talking about the harlot, right? Then chapter 18 is talking about the plagues of her. That's talking about Babylon. So whoever Babylon is, it's the same as these other ones. And it says death again, mourning, famine. See, because I put them in a column. So the column means that mean the same thing. It's just so it can a little more, embellish a little bit. So you try to understand what they're talking about. See, because in this one, in the case right here, right, like the last one, right, for the harlot and the Babylon, both are fire. See, but then compare that to long sword. I'm not going to go and explain all that. I'm just saying. So once you identify, so we know it's got to be either America, Britain, Russia, or the EU. It's got to be one of those, because that's what, if you understand the angel. See? So I'm just going to cut to the chase. You study yourself. Some about America. So some for you to study, some you can work on. Now this, getting to the heart of it, the meat of it. Okay. Let me move myself over out the way here. I'm going to get my own way. Quiet before the storm. Okay, this is the 6 seals. There's 7 seals. We're going to talk about 6 here, right? We're going to get to the 7th one. And we're going to look at it and do some analysis, right? So I highlight some things here, and we're going to look at them and see if it makes sense. Okay. On the first seal, right, he hears something that we're talking about the transliteral. We're not talking about King James, all that stuff, because they all messed up. And he transliteral, right? Jehovah's Witnesses have a very good one, the best I've seen, that's free. Okay, he hears something and he sees something. See, that's the first one. You go to the second seal, right? He hears something, he doesn't see anything. So we're not going to be concerned with what he's seeing, because in this situation, we're going to be concerned about what he hears. Okay, seeing is another topic, another subject altogether. At any rate, in the first seal he hears something, in the second seal he hears something. In the third seal, right, he hears something twice. So he hears something, right? Then you get to the fourth seal, right? He hears something on the fourth seal too. So he hears in the sea. I highlighted, right? I said we're not concerned about the seeing, but he hears something. All 4 of these, all 4 he hears something. But when you get to the 5th one, he doesn't hear anything. He doesn't hear anything on the 5th one. Why? Why doesn't he hear anything? There's silence. 5th one is silence. And then on the 6th one, he hears something again. Now someone say, oh, no. When you go in there and read the 6th one, then the next chapter talks about the 144,000 being sealed and everything. That's part of the 6th seal. Because right after that, then he talks about the 7th one. So he hears something. So there, I had ellipsis there, right? Because I left some out because I just want to focus on what he heard. So what is it saying here? They're saying that there's silence between the 5th and the 6th. And what is the 6th? The 6th, we're going to see in a minute, the 6th is where they go to war. Now they say a great shaking in the transliteral. King James Version say earthquake, well that's wrong. Great shaking doesn't mean earthquake, it means war. Anyway, there's a spirit of silence before the war, because the sixth seal is war. So there's silence before it. That's what it said. There's silence before it. That's what it's telling you. There's silence before that. So what does that mean? Okay. Let's look at this. Myself again. So right about there, I think that'll work. Okay. Timeline to destruction. Chapter 11 gives you a timeline. Chapter 11 gives you a timeline. Okay. It's the timeline of the angel, chapter 11. That's the only way you get a timeline. You get a total timeline from 1948 all the way up to the end. Okay, so we're going to talk about that a little bit here. Okay, it starts in 1948, the witnesses, right? Okay, that's established a so-called a false Israel, right? And so that they start witnessing against it, right? And said they would do it for 42 years. So that's what you see here, right? And it says 1,260 days, which comes out to 42 months. But they're actually talking about years. I mean, you see the pattern here, right? Okay, so you see right there where it says Syria and Iran, that's the Shia. Those are two witnesses. Those are two witnesses, okay? So if you see my cursor or not. Those are two witnesses, right? This is above the earth. It's called mid-heaven. So that means they're in the Middle East. They're above the earth, right? Because here's the earth down here. Remember I said earth, 4 parts of the earth? America, Russia, Britain, and so-called EU, right? See, and this God, he's the Lord of the earth. The God of this earth, that's Satan. That's what Jesus said. He'll be God at this age, right? Okay, he's controlling the affair. But above that, that's the Middle East. Above, this is called mid-heaven in chapter 19, because between the heavens and the earth. Okay, that's who she is right here. Okay, so what's happening here is that they're in that position, they're the strongest powers, right, during this 42-year period, from 1948 to 1990. Okay, so here you guys for it, because 1,260 days translates to 42 months, which actually is talking about 42 years. Then it says in 1990, right? Then it says something would happen where they would be overcome. So that's when America and Britain, right, along with France, took control of the Middle East. The Middle East was invaded, right? And they became the major powers in the Middle East, right? So that's what you have right under that. See, and that says under that. See, so they was cast down. They still, but they're under authority because the main powers right now is America, Britain, and the false Israel. And it says they would be in that condition for 3 days, for days 3.5. That's why I need transliteral. Because if you go over next to that, to the right of that, it says days, 3 days and a half, which is not the same thing. One says days 3.5, and one says 3 days and a half. You get King James, they say same thing. It's not the same thing because they would say it's the same thing. It's different. So anyway, it says days 3.5. Half of what? Half of the 42 years above it. So that means you're talking about years, still talking about years. So that means 24, 20, that'd be 21 plus 3 is 24. That means 24 years they would be in this position. They'd be in this position for 24 years. The war ended in 1993, 1991. So that means they'll be in this condition here, right, to 2015. They've been in that condition right here, 2015. Okay, then it says up here, right, on the next column on top, right, it says, then after that, there'll be trample under the foot of nations for 42 months. Now, these are months here. 42 months, right? See the pattern? 42 years, 42 months, right? So that means they'll be under the foot of the nation, trample. That means they're under control of the nations. They're under the bottom. They see it move down now. That's the UN. They're under the authority of the UN. They would go under the authority of the UN in 2015. That's the Shia, or specifically Iran. That's what happened, right? The so-called JCPOA was signed in 2015. That put them under authority of the UN. UN represents the nations. It said they'd be in that condition for 42 months, which is 3.5 years. Okay? So that means from 2015, 3.5 years will put you at 2018 plus 6 months. 6 months don't start from January, start from March. March is the true first year's first day of spring. So I put you 6 months past that, be March, April, May, June, July, September, around September, October, right? So it'd be, and that's when what happened? Mr. Trump killed the JCPOA. That is right on time. Right on time. So he killed it, right? And so then it says, right, you see the pattern here, now this is 24. It was 24 years here, 24 months here. Because this is phase 3.5. Half of what? Half of 42 months again. We're talking about months here. So that comes out to 23 months plus 3 months. That's 24 months. So they've been in this situation. So for 24 months now, in this phase here, first here, they was in 42 years, they was in that position. For 24 years, they were in this position. For 42 months, they were in this position. But this one, it says something different. It says it's after the 24 months or 3 days or days, 3 days and a half, they was in this position. It says Spirit of God came to them. They're in this position. So this is different because other ones took how much time they was in a position. This took how long time to get in a position. That means they're moving. That's wind. See, that's when they talk about wind. This is what they're talking about. There's two types of wind. They talk about angel. But they're moving. See, moving, you produce a wind. So they're moving up and they're covering, right? They're moving up and they're covering Russia and EU, whatever they're covering. See, because we say famine here. Famine is actually one of the spirits. That's why I said, and who's the God here? Satan is the God. See? So that's the spirit of the God. So it covered them. So that's where they're right here. That's where they are right now. A wind is blowing. See? And it says they'll be in that position for 24 months when you add, the days, 3 days and a half, right? And then it said, but it's 2 moves. See, it's 2 moves in this thing. Not only they get there, but then they stay on their feet. So it's 2 moves. They haven't stood on their foot yet. They haven't stood on their feet yet. They just got here. But during this particular time, from 2018, right, to around September, whatever, remember, they'd be there for 24 months for 2 years, right? Until 2020, between that time, 2020 October, right? They'll be they'll be spreading plagues. They'll be spreading plagues. That's when COVID-19 came in during that period of time. It says it's coming from them because that's the plague that talks about in Exodus that will kill the firstborn but pass over us. The firstborn is elderly, right? Came on time 2019. It says God said he would do it. So they talking about China, all that kind of stuff, whatever. They're saying it's coming from them. Okay? That's what's happening here. So they're in position right now. See? Okay. So now, then there's 2 moves now. You see that move? It takes 24 months to get in this move right here. And then it doesn't say exactly how long it's going to take to stay on their feet. Because they stay on their feet, right? That's what you see here. And the next one on the right here, they stay on their feet. That means now they're back in their original position, right? Because they was knocked down there. Right? That means this is the war. We're going to talk about that a little more later, right? But it says whenever he opened up the 7, remember the 7 seal we talked about? He said there was silence in heaven for space of about half an hour. and an hour represents a year. So that means it'll be about 6 months, right? So not exact 6 months, because they didn't say exactly about. So that means 5 to 7 months, somewhere around in there. Be silence. It says silence. Remember? Because when they stay on their feet, that's the war they talk about in the sixth seal. That's the war. So it'd be silence before that. Because the silence was between the fifth and the sixth seal was the war. So it'd be silence between that period. So before the war happens, right, the time they stay on their feet, right, there will be a period of silence for about between 5 and 7 months. So that would mean what? What does that mean? That means that between 2020, around October, November, right, there'll be a 5 to 7 month period of silence and then the war. Okay. So here we go right here. See what it says right here? It says, and in that hour, see, that's the last piece. They don't see that it gives you all the timeline, the years, the months, but then the hour, that's the last piece. See, so it says in that hour, but it's told you, right? See, it says half an hour. In that hour, they talk about that. So in other words, in that hour, see, because remember, we only talking about half an hour for the silence. So it said that's why I say in that hour, because that will be in within that period of time, but it will be after the silence. It said a great shaking. That's the same language they use for the sixth seal. That's the war. See, that's the war right there. Now the war has occurred, and America and Britain is kicked out. The Middle East, that's talk about the dragon, and Michael's angels fight against the dragons. So I want to point out, we're going to talk more about this. That's the timeline, so you can study that, understand it. See, that's what I say, in that hour. So it'd be the same hour, but the first part of the hour, right, was silence. As I told you, when we get closer to the end, I'm going to make clear to you, brother and sister. But I tell it, say it too early, I'm telling them also. Love before the storm. Okay, let's get a move here, something gets out the way, get myself out the way. Okay, that should do it. So here, see, when you open up the seal of seven, occurs silence in heaven, that's half an hour. And there it is. See the sixth seal right there? This is what it says occurs in the sixth seal. There'll be silence before that. And it says, when you open up the seal, the shaking great occurred. That's the war. But if you look over here, with the hour it's talked about, right? In chapter 11, it says, same language, occurs shaking great. That's the same thing. That's the war that's about to take place any day now. Because we're in the lull before the storm right now. We've been in it for the last 5 or 7 months. We're quiet. Everybody see all this stuff going around, or threatening, and people drunk, but no wars or nothing. People, beating the horn, war drums and everything else. But it says silence. And then the war. Lull before the storm. Okay, so we're going to walk through this a little more in detail. This we talked about. Now here we are, 1948 to 1990 we talked about, right? This is what it says in chapter 11. It says they will prophesy days 2060, right? Days 1,260. That's 1,260, which is 42 months, which is actually 42 years. So that's 42 years. They're in that position. They're on top, right? In the Middle East. Syria and Iran, powerhouses during that period of time, right? Okay. Then the war takes place, starts in 1990, ends in 1991. Let me make a little move here. Okay. So there's the war, right? So that means now America, Britain, and Australia have superseded them because now they've taken control of the Middle East. So they push down and says they've fallen. See, the fall is fallen. See, fallen now, right? It says be for days 3.5. Half of what? Half of the 42 years. plus 3. That's 24 years. They've been in that position for 24 years. America and false Israel and Britain would be dominating the Middle East for that 24 years. That would go from 1991, 24 years at that, that puts you 2015. 2015. What happened in 2015, right? Okay, 2015, right? Let's go to the next one. That's the JCPOA. Obama makes that agreement, right? Said they would be trampled on months 42 months, which is 3.5 years. So they'd be on the foot of the nations, right? That means they're on the bottom now. They're on the bottom. That means they're under control of the nations. They're on the foot of the nations. They was under the foot of the UN. That agreement put them under the control of the UN. That agreement put them under control, specifically Iran, under control of the UN. On the foot of the nations. And it says that would last for 3.5 years. From 2015, right? We're talking about from the beginning of the year, scripturally, is March, the first day of spring. It was universally. That's the Romans changed that and everything. That's their business. But we're not going to change it. So we're talking about from March. So Obama made that agreement. They put them under control of UN. And they would be under there. They said they'd be under there from 2015 to 2018 plus 6 months would put you around like September, October, around that area, right? Because we're talking about from March. They've been in that situation. So Gog and Magog and the Antichrist, which is false Israel, they're in control of the Middle East, right? Then it says the agreement will be broken. That's what Mr. Trump broke the agreement. 2018, right? Mid-2018. Exactly what happened. See? So then, right? It says, then the spirit of the gods came into them. So in other words, in the other ones, there was how long they was in that position. But this was different because it's after the 3. That means it took 2 years to get in this position they are right there. See, under where you see rain, under that would be the greenish yellow horse, which is a spirit. And the God is Satan. So that means the spirit of God came, so that means they're in that position there. So they cover Europe, right? This demon, the spirit, that greenish yellow horse, and both East and Western Europe. But it says during that period of time, they would plague the earth. They would spread plagues as often as they will during that period of time. From 2000, right? 2018 to 2020. 2018, around October, whatever, until 2020, they were spreading plagues. That's when COVID-19 came in 2020. That's what it says. They will be doing. Read it. It says they'll be spreading plagues during that period of time. See? So the scripture says it came from, it says, God said he would, this plague, he said he would put a plague on Egypt, right, that would kill the firstborn after the 40 years. So 40 years, 1619 to 20, why do they call it COVID-19? 1619 to 2019, right? 40 years, 2020 would be the plague that would kill the firstborn, meaning the elderly. That's exactly what COVID is doing. And it passed over us. It's passing over dark black Africa. So why is it killing us like flies? We're pretty much the same, right? So somebody's lying. Anyway, that's what it says. Passover. So there you go. So it took them. So that's a wind. So they moving. So that's wind. The other one, they were static. They were in static position. But this one, they actually moved. It took 2 years to get in that position. But it's 2 moves here. They get in that position, and then they stand upon their feet. So it's 2 moves here that's made. Both of them are moving. Both of them are wind. And that's why I go back here and it says, well, we will see. It goes back and says that it was call it a wind. W-I-N-D. Then, here we go. See? And when they opened up the seal of 7, occurs silence. See? So that's where they are right now. See, and they're covering, right? That demon is also called spirits, one of the 7 spirits, right? So they're covering. That's where they are right now. And it says, The silence before the war. So the war hasn't started. The physical war hasn't started yet, but the wind is blowing. See, and that would be 6 to 7 months, half an hour, hours a year, 6 to 7 months. That's where I. So we and this started. This started around October, November last year. So you do the math. We've been in a period of silence, silence before the storm. Then the war that's about to take place any day now. Do this again. Figure out a way to do this without having to do this all the time. See? Now, it says in that hour occurred shaking great, intensity fell, all the different things. But that's the hour they talk about in chapter 11. But before that, was this same war, same shaking great, same one they talking about the sixth seal, same thing, shaking war. That means there's a silence just before that happens. And we see what the silence was. It's about half an hour, between 5 and 7 months, which started back 2000, around October, November last year. There you go, brothers and sisters. Remember, we're not talking about from January, we're talking about from March. And then the war. And chapter 12 tells you the war. It says the war occurred in heaven. That's the war. Michael's angels was fought in the Shia against the dragon's angels. See, that's Gog and Magog. There's two of his angels, right? See, also false Israel. See, and what happened? Say what happens to them? See, they're cast out. They're cast out in the Middle East. They're cast out. False Israel can't leave anywhere because they did. I mean, some of them are going to escape. See, they're going to be taken, but they're kicked out. So in other words, the Shia are victorious. It says Michael and his angels because Faraz is helping them. He's going to war with them. He's manifest. It says Michael and his angels. Michael's Faraz. Michael's the one that delivers us, right? It says at that time, Michael will stand to deliver. If he's delivering us, he must, unless there's some other God besides Farad, the Farad has to be Michael. See? And here it is, this Babylon, right? So we talked about Babylon before earlier, try to explain who was the harlot. But it says Babylon, right? One of the calamities would be they'll be attacked by the wild beasts of the earth. And it says there'd be more than one. Well, there it is. Now we know who Babylon is. We know who the harlot is because they're right in it with Russia and EU. And right now we hear talk about Russia and America going to war. And we hear talk about Korea and China going to war. And we see Magog, Britain. Whenever Britain goes to war, America goes to war. They're in war together. So you can see, just assume if one is in the war, so that means if Britain's in the war with China, North Korea, America's in the war with China. If America's in the war with China, Korea, so is Britain. That's the way it works. So we see Gog and Magog, right? Now they're in war with China, Korea, right? Just got whooped by Iran. And now they're also at war with Russia. And also going to be at war with EU. That's the thing, because they think the NATO is their ally, and NATO's going to turn against them. So there you go. So that tells you who the harlot is, right? We were talking about earlier. See, you had the harlot, right? You had 1/4 of the earth. See, that's the 1/4, and that's the wild. So it's telling you who the wild beasts they are. That's why I mentioned that. So now you put all that together. See, and it says Babylon become a dwelling place of demons, right? And I said under that is a greenish yellow horse. That's one of the demons. So that's one of the demons, right? It says, oh, hateful bird, right? Okay, false Israel is under there too now. That's the bird that's under. So all that's why it's dwelling place of, it can be a dwelling place of demons and unclean, right? And prison of every bird. Who represents the bird? False Israel. So they're under there. So that's why it's dwelling place. And they're taken. See, so they kicked out, right? And false Israel has been surrounded and seized and taken down. It's no more. There's of course all kinds of political and religious turmoil here in America. So we're not going to get into that. But that's the war that's about to take place, brothers and sisters. I brought it to you. It's clear enough. So we'll see. That's my analysis. With the lull of the storm. It's been a lull, but now the storm. And the storm is a few days away. That's the angel says. And the storm, the lull will only last 5 to 7 months. And I gave you all the time frame. No one else doing this but me. So we'll know if I'm correct or not. So I'm not the one to tell you after. I'm telling you before. Like I told you about COVID, I told you before. These afterwards, Farrakhan, we're going to know all about it, but it's too late for him because he's gone. When this happened, he's through. He's going to be through very soon anyway because they got turmoil in the Nation of Islam, right? They got turmoil there right now. There's civil war going on there right now. You don't know, but it is. They're going to dispose of him themselves, especially if they haven't done it when the war takes place any day now. They will do it as soon as it does take place because no one can deny this. It's clear enough. And a lot of people are watching. They don't want you to know they're watching. They're watching. Okay, is that it? Is that it, brothers and sisters? Let's see if that's it. Oh, we're talking about fire burned down. That's the first 2 trumpets, right? And the first one was definitely fire. See, it says he threw the stars of heaven to the earth. See, only way to do that, the earth has to be in that position. So America's thrown down. They got out of their position, and now they're at war with Russia, and they're at war with the EU, and they're also at war with Korea and North Korea and China. That's what Britain also has God to make out. They're through. They're finished. See, that's just begin. I mean, that's just begin. I mean that during that period of time, the locust plague gonna be tearing. I mean, these Negroes gonna be tearing this country apart. Christian Negroes, demons, master children, be tearing this country apart. That fire. That's during that period of time. It'll be a 5-month period of time. 5 months. After the war starts, it'll be 5 months. It'll be because we're torn apart. You think that George Floyd thing was something, all these riots and things, it's going to be 1,000 times worse than that. Let's get the story of, well, we're not going to go into all that. Anyway, so, and then, all the time they're at war. Struggle for their lives against Russia, their former friends, EU, China, and North Korea. They're being total insurrection internally, and they had insult to injury. Now they're going to be invaded by China and India with non-Islamic Africa in tow. And that's going to finish. That's the flood. Finish. Hope you understand, brothers and sisters. The lull before the storm. The lull before the storm. The lull is almost over. We've been in the lull. We've been in the lull about a few months, almost. Right? It says lull be between 5 and 7 months. From somewhere between October and November of last year. So if we took November to December, January, February, March, April, May, June. Wow. Right? If we took September, well, it would be September. Well, I said October to November, December, January, February, March, April, May. This is April now. See, take November, be June. Anyway, you can look for it any day now. Hope you understand, brothers and sisters. The lull before the storm. We're going home, brothers and sisters. Don't you fret. If you on top of this injury, you have nothing to worry about. But if you're in the Nation of Islam, and you were deceived by Farrakhan, and you're still with Farrakhan when this goes down, if you're a demon, we want you to stay with him, because we don't want you. We don't care what you do. Remember the story about Nicodemus? Don't matter what you do. He said, we don't want you. I'm a righteous man. Yeah, he was a righteous man. He was doing all things right. So that's Farrakhan. Nicodemus, demon. He said, we don't want you. You got to be born again. See, Chris got that all wrong. That means your slave master's bastard. We don't want you. You gotta be born again original. That's why I said, can I go back in the womb? No, you can't. So we don't want you. I don't care how righteous you think you are. See, Farrakhan, he's so holy and all this stuff, everything don't matter. We don't want you. You can't. You're a demon. See? But those Levites, because Elijah Levite, he raised the Levites. He would raise Levites. Suleiman raised Lazarus. He raised Levites. He prepared them for our king, right? He started the resurrection of Levites, left Elijah Muhammad with it. Elijah Muhammad nourished them, right? And prepared them for this storm that's coming. And he let Farrakhan trick them. So they're not prepared. See? So therefore they're going to have to go to tribulation. See? That's the ones, the true Levites, not the demons. They have to go to tribulation period. Final trial. Okay, brothers and sisters. Hope you understand. Assalamu alaikum.